Hi everyone, I welcome you all in the next lecture of ethanol production series. So till previous lecture, we have seen various properties related to the ethanol, and we have also seen the process flow diagram of producing the ethanol from the molasses. And we have seen that why India is suitable for producing huge amount of sugarcane that will ultimately produce the ethanol. And that's why we have seen that due to the tropical climate in India, India is one of the largest producer of the sugar grain, and that facilitates the good quantity of production of ethanol in our country. So in today's lecture, we are going to understand why is India promoting the ethanol blending. That is the strategy of India in terms of economy, agriculture, and environmental basis. So India wants to produce some sustainable fuel sources because if you see the crude oil problem since last 1 year or 2 years after the problem occurred in the Strait of Hormuz, the petrol price got increased, and we know the petrol is produced from the crude oil, right? And although India produces some amount of crude oil that is in minimal quantity, but that is not enough to meet our country's enormous energy demand. So as a result, India imports nearly, you can see 80 to 90% of the crude oil from another country across the world. Now imagine what happens when the international crude oil price increases, as we have seen in last 2 years after the problem occurred in the Strait of Hormuz. Since we are buying crude oil from outside India, so our import bill also increases. This means we have to spend more foreign exchange just to meet our fuel requirements. Therefore, the obvious question is, can we reduce our dependency on, imported petrol? And the answer is yes, but not by replacing petrol completely. Instead, we can, replace a part of it with a fuel that we can produce within in our own country. And that fuel is ethanol. So now another question arises, where will we get such a huge amount of ethanol? And the answer comes from India is one of the largest producer of the sugar cane in the world, right? And we have seen this in our previous lecture as well. So every year, what happens? India produces millions of tons of sugar cane that is getting harvested by our farmers. And most of the people think that sugar cane is, grown only to produce sugar, but that is only part of the story. When sugarcane reaches to the sugar mill, the juice is extracted and produces, that is processed to, make sugar. That is the one part. But during this process, as we have seen earlier also, a thick, dark, viscous liquid, which is called as the molasses, that is also getting formed as a byproduct. So for many years, molasses was considered as a low value byproduct of the sugar industry, and that was supposed to create some land pollution and water pollution. But chemical engineer looked at it in a different way. So they asked the question that can we convert this byproduct into something valuable? And the answer comes is yes. By fermenting the sugar present in the molasses using yeast, that can produce the ethanol, right? So that sugar basically gets converted into glucose and fructose, and then these yeast convert this glucose into the ethanol. Now, bringing both sides of this story together, so now we notice that what has happened instead of importing, every liter of petrol from outside the country, India can now produce a part of its fuel, domestically using a byproduct of the sugar industry, and that also create a win-win situation. So first, it reduces our dependency on imported crude. That is one of the greatest advantages of you producing ethanol from the sugar or from the molasses. Second, it adds value to the sugar industry because molasses is not considered now as a byproduct or waste product of the industry. It became as a valuable raw material. And the third one is sugar mill gain an additional sources of income by selling the ethanol that improves the financial stability of the industrialist. So finally, what we can say by blending ethanol with petrol, India strengthen its energy security and become less vulnerable to the fluctuation in the international crude oil prices. So India is not promoting the ethanol because it is the perfect fuel. India is promoting ethanol because it transfers an agricultural byproduct into a strategic energy resources. So in other words, instead of depending, entirely on the imported crude oil, we are converting the output of our own farms into transportation fuel. And this is the real engineering and economic significance of, blending ethanol in the petrol. Then, as we have seen that when ethanol burns, it is having hydrogen bond. So the burning is a complete combustion, and then it produces, and also the chemical structure of ethanol, we have seen there is oxygen atom present in the molecule that facilitates the complete burning. And that does not produces I mean, there is a less emission of, carbon monoxide compared to the conventional petrol, and that helps improving the air quality index also in the urban area. As we have seen that ethanol is a renewable fuel because it has been produced from the sugarcane, and sugarcane grows every year. So the petrol is from fossil fuel that takes millions of years to form. So ethanol is a form of biomass, or ethanol is getting produced from the biomass, which is a renewable and sustainable energy sources. Then there comes it also supports India's national, biofuel policy because that diversify the fuel sources. It removes the dependency of energy from the imported crude oil to, self-sustainable ethanol production. That strengthen the domestic energy production. Then it also reduces dependency on the import of the fossil fuel. So as an engineer, we should not never look at only one side of the problem. There are also various challenges associated with the ethanol. So India is not promoting ethanol because it is perfect fuel. India is promoting ethanol because, despite its limitation, it offers a practical balance between, reducing crude oil import, supporting, you can see here the farmers utilizing agricultural byproduct that improves the energy security for the nation. And also it is moving towards a more sustainable energy system. So the challenges for engineer is not overcome its limitations through better engine design that can improve agricultural practices and the development of the second generation ethanol technology. So these are the challenges in front of the engineer, and we need to modify our engine in terms of higher compression ratio. And if we are able to do that, then definitely this fuel can come as a mainstream fuel sources for our transportation fuel. Okay, so I hope this is clear to all of you why India is promoting ethanol blending. But again, I'm telling you at the end of this lecture, this video is not for any political agenda or something like that. I just wanted to let my audience know that there are lots of issues are getting, or there are lots of questions that is getting arise in our country about the ethanol. But I just wanted to let you know that why the problem is happening and what are the good side and bad side of the ethanol. And I hope I made all of these things clear to all of you. And with that, I'd like to end this lecture here. See you in the next lecture.